Good Saturday morning, guys, and welcome to another fabulous episode of Exit Strategy Radio Show. Hey, I'm your host. I am Colin J. Millette, broker and owner of Exit Realty Low Country Group in beautiful North Charleston, South Carolina. Hey, if this is your first time listening to this one right here, this show, hey, you, sir or ma'am, are in for a treat. Because you know what we always tell you, y'all heard it in the intro, but you know your boy got to say it again. Our mission here is very simple. That is to empower our community through financial literacy and real estate education, guys. We're legacy building. We are focused on it. Legacy building. Say it with me. Legacy building. That's what we do. So, guys, today is no different. All right. We have a fantabulous guest. We have managed to shake her free because she is busy. To have her here with us today, that is none other than Brenda Christ with Movement Mortgage. Brenda, how are you doing today?
It's a beautiful day in my neighborhood.
Yes, Mr. or Mrs. Rogers. There you go. Perfect. So, Brenda, thank you so much for taking some time out of your very, very busy schedule to be with us here on air today. We really appreciate it. So, if you don't mind, I always like for our guests to kind of, give a short intro as to who they are, what they do, and then we'll kind of break into some questions. But I'm sure that our folks are going to be excited about the information because you are a vet. So I'm going to let you tell it, though. So if you don't mind, tell listeners a little bit about yourself.
Oh, goodness. Where do I start? I started in this industry back in the late 80s when I first graduated from high school, started as a college job so that I could become an accountant. That's what I was going to school for. And I got bit. I got bit by the mortgage bug, and I don't know, some 30 years later, I'm still doing this thing and just absolutely love everything about numbers. I love helping people. I have been in all facets of the mortgage industry. I've worked in correspondent lending where I've bought the loans from people. I've worked on my end of things where we sell the loans to other people. I've been in secondary marketing. I've been in the construction department. I've been in servicing. You name it, processing. I've done it. So I've got a pretty well-rounded background so that I can relate to a lot of different people. And so customer service is my passion. I'm looking forward to helping anybody that I can.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. So 30 years in this industry, you've seen some things, and obviously our hot buttons. So I'm going to go ahead. Hold on. I'm going to go ahead over here because this frying pan is sizzling. So let me go ahead and crack and bust an egg off in it and say, hey, let's get right in here. You've been doing this for 30 years. So you know what that means? That means that you have been here through significant changes in prices, but also in rates fluctuations over the years. So if you don't mind for our listeners, share the first rate that you remember seeing go past you.
Probably 12%, but I remember doing one at 18. And I thought, what on earth are you thinking? But at the time, people got to buy, people got to sell. So, you take what's available at the time. So what rates are now, I think is nothing compared to what I've seen in history.
And see, that's exactly what the people in the industry that know, because the people that don't are the ones that get hung up. Is there going to be a degree of uncertainty? Perhaps. Is there going to be kind of a pause? Let me kind of, make sure, think. Yeah. But in general, that's what people should be doing anyway. They should be pausing before they randomly haphazardly go about a home purchase. So in this climate, in the climate of increasing or increased, matter of fact, I'm going to ask the question, but I'm going to give you my anecdote that I've been sharing here shortly as well. But in this season of quote unquote increased rate, what is it that you are advising prospective buyers who are, trying to position themselves to finance?
Well, there's no real crystal ball, but like I said, you need to buy, you need to sell, people need to relocate, you got military moving around, you need to buy and you need to sell. Rent is going to continue to go up. And that usually is more than owning a house. So I would say whatever rates are right now, go ahead and get that house now if you can, because with the values going up, it's still going to appreciate in value. So you're better off buying now, whatever the rate is, and then down the road, looking to refinance if you can to better your position down the road. And you're going to have more equity in the property then anyway. You may be able to remove PMI at that time. So I absolutely say now is the best time to buy.
One of the things that I think people forget is that rates fluctuate. So my anecdote has revolved around the Wizard of Oz. And if you think about it, And forgive me, but just being real about it, if we think about it from this point of view or this perspective, in The Wizard of Oz, it was yellow brick roads,
Yep.
streets of gold. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It was all kind of things going on. Ultimately, getting to Oz, if you will, making it to Oz with the Tin Man, the Scarecrow, and the Cowardly Lion, then it became a party. So we have been in Oz for a little while. It's been a party.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
now we've reached the point that Dorothy is starting to click her heels. And now she's got to go back to Kansas. And the neatest thing is that when we think back, when Dorothy left Kansas, it was flying monkeys and stuff. Okay. You remember that from the movie? It was flying monkeys, tornado, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And now, as Dorothy goes back, it's calm and peace. If you remember that from the movie, right?
Yeah.
So I've been telling people, I've been having this conversation with our agent. I've shared it in some other groups and meetings I've been in. Like, really, it just kind of came to me. This is like the Wizard of Oz. Like, okay, now it's time to go back to Kansas, guys. Yeah. So let's go back, let's settle in, and let's live our life and move forward. I mean, would you agree?
Absolutely. Like we said, there's no way of knowing what the future holds, but we do know that rates follow inflation. And if inflation continues to go up, rates are going to continue to go up. So it just kind of goes hand in hand. And right now, with the shortage of supplies, kind of inevitable that at least at this point in time, that's going to happen.
There's a lot of people this is also something that I see, and I don't want to spend our entire conversation talking about interest rates because, but that's kind of a hot button. But, one of the things that people are, to be blunt, they're hopeful. They're not, they're, in their mind's eye, it's not even rational to them, nowadays their rates would be 7, 6, 7, 8, 9% or higher. It's irrational in most people's minds that would happen or otherwise occur. And, the fact of the matter is waiting because you think rates are going to come back down could very well play to a buyer's detriment current market and the current.
Yeah, because you're going to continue to have appreciation.
We have I know in our office, we have a tremendous amount of buyers that are priced out of the market now. They were priced out. Some were priced out when prices escalated. And now as rates have increased, now those people that were quote unquote barely able to enter into the market because of their own preconceived notions and misinformation, they waited. And now they in turn are now priced out of the market because of increases in interest rate. Mm-hmm. So let's say in that situation or scenario, let's say, for our listeners who, may be challenged in the current market, what can they do? What should they do? One thing that we've been talking to people about is expanding your search area. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, you may have to go further out to get into home ownership. But what are you guys from the mortgage perspective talking to people about as far as how to, manage going forward?
Well, one thing that I'm finding is a lot of first-time homebuyers don't have any savings. And so they're relying on the grant program through South Carolina Housing, which is great that that's available. That $8,000 is huge for a lot of people. The drawback to that is it caps your debt ratio at 45. Whereas if you have your own down payment money, you can go FHA and you can go up to 56% of your income. So not that everybody wants more than half of their income to be their house payment, but if you're a dual income and both people can't be on a loan, maybe that makes sense for you. So savings is huge, and start something systematic. Just take a small percentage of each check. I know that's really hard to do with the price of a tank of gas right now, but pay yourself first. I mean, pull that thing right off the top, put that in a fund that you don't see, you don't touch, set it aside, use that for your down payment. Underwriters love to see systematic savings. So if there's any way to have your own down payment money, that's huge.
Awesome. That's good to note as well. I don't believe I've ever heard anyone say that or systematic, like it's an automatic draft that comes out, goes into your savings account, and it's been working that way for a long time. So, I am a fan of the profit first model that Motorbike Mike, I think is what his nickname is, but Mike Michalowicz wrote these books, The Toilet Paper Entrepreneur and a bunch of other stuff that he wrote. And it has turned into a series of conversations about how to pay yourself first and setting aside and all that stuff. And he's been very, 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 very big on that. Very big on that. So, and I took that because as a business owner, obviously we want to try to make sure that, business owners, just like most people, it's all in, all out. So the same thing, as many people are trying to do what they need to do as far as living, if you don't set it aside, then it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So,
and put it in an account that you can't touch, that's not linked to your checking account. Make it, an Edward Jones or a completely different credit union or someplace that it's not easy for you to go and get to it when, you're feeling the moment.
Exactly. So, that's conversation I just recently had. I mean, the reality is that when a buyer, let's say, for example, so let me, move this a little bit further down the road, but, when a buyer gets the pre-approval, it's like fresh money, new money in their pocket, and they're ready to go spend it. So regardless if they think they need to wait or whatever, they just ready to go shop. So that's how people are oftentimes when they get the money to their pocket, they're ready to move, they're ready to go. And then obviously want to get them out as quickly as possible. So let me kind of bring this conversation around a little different. So for our listeners, guys, look, we've talked about the interest rates. We talked about the fact that Brenda's seen them at 12, 18%. Look, we were out here running and screaming in the streets, pulling our hair out. Y'all see my hair gone. But we out here running the streets, pulling our hair out about it. But the reality is that we still have a very healthy market. Currently, I say not healthy, let me phrase that because we're still way short on inventory, but it's not dire. Let me put it that way. It's not as dire as it was, and things are still changing. So, Brenda, let's talk about the consumer. Let's talk about the consumer from the point of view of, I always ask this question. Everybody has, different insights, but a borrower in this climate, what should they be doing? What should they be doing? You talked about systematic savings, and what should they be prepared for in this process as far as the mortgage side goes?
I would say reach out to a mortgage lender and have them review your credit. Sometimes the smallest little thing can make the biggest difference in your credit score. And people don't know. I hear that on a daily basis. I wish I'd known that your credit card is 30% of your score. And if you keep it down at 10% of the credit line, you're going to build points. The whole point of having a card is to have credit available, not necessarily to use it. And we get there's going to be times where you're going to need to use it, but pay it back down. And so that can hugely impact your score. Or not having a credit card at all. There are so many people that think that credit's bad and they may have had an issue with a credit card in the past. And it's like, no, credit's important. You need to show an underwriter that you're able to use credit and use it wisely and that you don't have to run it up to the max as soon as you get your hands on a card, because that tells them how you're going to make your house payment. So it's so important. And that is such a big chunk of your credit that if people had that time, because you go out and you get a card, it's going to give you some points, but the longer you have that card, the more points you're going to get. Or if it's a matter of removing a collection, knowing that if you delete a collection or if you pay a collection, it's going to revert your current. So when you pay it, you want to make sure that the creditor deletes it, like a tit for tat. I pay you, you delete it. It's kind of an exchange. Then your score won't be worse off for paying it. You hate to tell somebody, don't pay your credit cards because it can actually make your score worse. That's kind of sounds like backwards, but that's how it works. So if you know what to do when you're reaching out to these people, it can help your score. So have a review done, work on your credit score. The higher your score is, the better your rate's going to be, and the better the decision engine is going to approve when we run that computer model in the decision engine.
That is awesome. That's awesome. That's some very helpful and useful information. So, one of the things that obviously people are challenged sometimes by, just trying to figure it all out, put it all in order, and put it in order, quote unquote, does it make sense to them? It doesn't make sense to them, no matter what order it's in, they're not going to do it. So saving money, making sure that your credit and all those things are in order are key to making a difference. So in the current climate, we're seeing pricing, and I'm going to say it's beginning to level a bit. It's kind of how I'm saying it's beginning to level off a little bit. You're seeing minor corrections on homes that's on market. So
I'm starting to see sellers pay closing costs. That's been a long time since I've seen that, but it's coming across my desk.
That is awesome. So exactly. And, we're starting to see slight price improvement. What's interesting is, and it's funny to me, and I'm going to tell you why it's funny. And from the real estate side, if you will, sellers got accustomed to home selling within a few days. So when it's on the market for a week, now they're starting to panic and say, well, we need to reduce the price. And it's funny to me, like all you got to do is wait, because the buyers got to, just wait a little while. Like we literally just had this conversation. We literally had this conversation in the office recently, just in general, just sharing that how sellers are. And then 2-3 of our sellers got offers that weekend, full price or above, and ratified. Like,
Yeah.
all you have to do is just wait, be patient.
Because that's when people have time to shop. You can't wait for the weekend.
Exactly. So it's impressive to me that people are doing that. So let me ask you, where do you think it's all heading? You know, where are we going? What is this going to look like from your opinion, from your perch? You've been doing this 30 years, Brenda. So you know some things.
What goes up must come down. So yeah, I do think values are going to level off. I don't think they're going to stay stagnant. I think we're still going to have level of appreciation, 5%. So I don't see that changing, only because there's so much demand. When you look at the amount, you have to look at demographics. If you have 33-year-olds, that's your like midpoint range where people start forming their own households. And the number of people that are formed, like in Dorchester County, I think we have 900 people that are turning 33, and they're only building 1,000 houses. So that doesn't take into account people moving into the area, people that are upsizing, downsizing. Just they're not building enough houses to keep pace with first-time homebuyers, let alone people coming into the area. So yeah, we're going to continue to have appreciation because of that. So I say that now is the best time to buy before things continue to go up. And you may have to start out in a starter home. You may have to reevaluate what your initial idea of a home ownership is. Maybe you don't need granite counters. Maybe you don't need 2-car garage. Maybe you don't need 3 bathrooms. And then build equity in that property and then turn around a year or two from now and upsize, and maybe rates will be better then. So it's hard to say what the market will do.
Congratulations to this week's Realtor of the Week for Exit Realty Low Country Group. None other than Mimi Eubanks, your country realtor. You can reach Mimi at 843-730-3327 or text My Realtor Mimi. That's MyRealtorMeme to 85377. Y'all give y'all country realtor a holler now. You know, and I want to say it was this morning, but it was recent. So in the last few days, if you will, I kind of had this just my morning thoughts and things. So my son did that. My son bought him and fiance at the time, or matter of fact, might have been girlfriend. One of the two, I don't remember.
Close
but
enough.
They weren't married. Yeah.
Significant other.
Yeah. There you go. Look here, that means we committed regardless, right? So they bought a townhouse. So they stayed in the townhouse for about a year, maybe a little bit over, sold it, used that equity, and bought the larger home. And what's interesting to me, I was kind of thinking in my mind this morning, just overall, or whatever morning it was, but I was thinking in my mind, like overall, like what they bought that house for, the current market, that house, they bought it maybe 3 years ago, 2, 3, maybe 4, within the last few years. So 3 or so, give or take a little bit in years. And they have seen, that house now would sell for at least 100, 125, 30 more, $1,000 more than what they paid for it. Market is done. So they position themselves. And on top of that, rates were lower. So thinking that because, I'm closing buyers now who have rates on similar priced homes as what they paid for theirs, which at the time, and where the rates are, I'm seeing the payments $200, $300, $400 per month higher their payment was on their house for the same amount of property finance or similar amount of property finance in swing. And that's the reason why for our listeners, guys, it's not ideal to wait.
Right.
You know it, you see it, you envision it going forward. Mm-hmm. You've seen it way back here. You've seen it here, and now you know where it's going. And look, all right, guys, let's go ahead and get it together. Now, Brenda, if you don't mind, I know you're licensed in how many states? Well,
7.
Let me phrase that. 7 states. All right. Mm-hmm. So if you don't mind, share that because, our listeners are all over and we want them to be able to reach wherever. So what states are you licensed in?
My home base is South Carolina, and so I'm licensed all the way around there. North Carolina, Georgia, Florida. What else is around there? I'm licensed in Alabama. I'm licensed in Michigan. I'm licensed in Virginia. I think that's everything. Yeah.
Awesome.
I believe that's everything.
Awesome.
So yeah, I have a lot of investors that want to buy in those areas for whatever reason. Alabama's hot.
So it's the Gulf, and to be frank, and it's interesting to me. So I'm been through in two parts of Alabama. I've been through and in the Huntsville area. I've been through into Birmingham area and things of that nature. It just seems like there's a lot of quote unquote. As a matter of fact, one of my counterparts moved to Alabama. He still practices in South Carolina, but and he's a great guy. Shout out to Jay Kim. He's an awesome dude. Love that guy. High energy, just like, let's go. So anyway, anytime I'm around him, we got to do something. We got to go. Let's go. You know that kind of people, right? Just got to go. Yep. So if you don't mind, share your contact information. Obviously we'll share it on the show. Sure. But how can people reach you, Brenda?
My cell is 843-330-8002. And my email is brenda.christ@movement.com. And Christ is spelled just like Christ. And what else? So yeah, either email me, text me, call me, any of the above.
Awesome. It's awesome. Brenda, we really, really appreciate you doing that. And again, we're going to get your contact information out to our listeners. But, before we get to quote unquote the tail end and begin to wrap up today's, episode, I'm going to ask you this. You say you got bit by the mortgage bug. Inevitably, there's someone out there probably sitting out there thinking that they want to do what you do. And I tell people, so I'm in the grocery store the other day, stopped by a store. Was out of town this weekend for a cookout, mother-in-law's birthday / cookout, whatever it was. And I'm in the store and usually I'm exit appareled and stuff, but I'm, not that I was off duty because I'm always on. This girl at the checkout register, I'm standing there and, and she just looked up and she's like, "What do you do?" And I first had to check myself, like, wait a minute, do I look like a realtor standing here? In my head, I'm like, wait a minute, no. But I told her, and she said, that's what she said. I said, well, I'm a realtor. She said, are you I want to be a broker. I'm like, no, you don't want to be a broker. You don't want to be a broker. You don't want to do that. So I began telling her and talking with her, like, look, you don't want to be a broker, you want to be an agent because the money goes out the door with the agent. The broker is broker. That's what they tell us, right?
So people, you got to have a chromosome that's mutated. We're all not right.
Oh, I love that. I'm going to use it. You got to have a chromosome that's mutated.
That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
So I'm going to ask this question. If you could go back and tell, quote unquote, your younger self, or your previous self, because you're still young, your previous self, the impact that you want to have on people in this business, what would that be?
Oh, goodness. I don't think I'd change a thing. I love exactly what I do. I love how I do it. I love who I do it with. I wouldn't change a thing. That
is amazing. So kudos to you. So guys, listeners, hey, we've had a fabulous show. Brenda, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart here from Exit Realty Low Country Group, but also from the Exit Strategies radio show. Hey, thank you for being a part of our family. Thank you for being on. For our listeners, guys, y'all check out this episode. Y'all go to our website, exitstrategyradioshow.com. Y'all go to our YouTube channel. Y'all see who Brenda is. And most importantly, y'all give her a holler. Brenda is a seasoned veteran in the industry. We count her as a friend and a partner. We worked together in the past and we still work together on occasion. So we have a good time. Is a fabulous loan officer and a fabulous person to know in general. So Brenda, again, thank you so much for being on. I have this signature thing that I like to tell people, my listeners especially, that we love them, we love them, we love them, and we're going to see them out there in the street. So I'm going to say that to you now. I love you. And our listeners, y'all listen. I love you. I love you. I love you. And we're going to see you guys out there in them streets. Thank you so much.
Excellent.